To convert units of capacity and weight, we're going to follow the same rules that we did when we converted units of length. To change a larger unit into a smaller unit, we're going to multiply. And when we want to change a smaller unit into a larger unit, we are going to divide. But if we take a look at our information today, we'll see that our measurements in our table have changed. Now, since we're using units of capacity, we will be talking about in using fluid ounces, cups, pints, quarts, and gallons. So if we have that information, we can then apply it to these types of problems. So if we look at number 2, we're converting gallons to pints. We know gallons are larger than pints, so we're converting a larger unit to a smaller unit, which means we're going to multiply. We have a total of 3 gallons, so that's the number that we'll be multiplying. So we'll look into our chart to see how many pints are in a gallon. So if we scroll to the top, and we want to look for a line that tells us about pints and gallons. And we notice there's no line that tells us the number of pints in a gallon. So we're going to have to use the information that's there to help us figure that out. Using that information, if we go back to the problem, we can see from the chart that there are 2 pints in 1 quart, and there are 4 quarts in 1 gallon. Those are the 2 pieces of information we would use. So that tells us if there are 4 quarts in a gallon and there are 2 pints in each one of these 4 quarts, 2 times 4 would give us a total of 8 pints in 1 gallon. So we would have to multiply times 8, because in every gallon we know there are 8 pints. 8 times 3 would give us a total of 24 pints. In the next problem, we're converting quarts to pints. Well, quarts are larger than pints, so we're converting a larger unit to a smaller unit. So again, that means we're going to multiply. We multiply 5 because that's the number of quarts we're being asked to convert. And we're going to multiply it times the number of pints in a quart. Refer back to your chart. You can see that there are 2 pints in a quart. 2 times 5 would give us 10 pints. In number 4, we're converting quarts to cups. So we're converting a larger unit of measure to a smaller unit of measure. When we convert larger to smaller, that means that we're going to have to multiply. So we know we're going to multiply the 6 times something. Well, if we look back at our chart, we're going to need to find out the number of cups in a quart. But looking up there, you don't see the number of cups in a quart directly written. We do know that 1 pint equals 2 cups. And we also know that there are 2 pints in 1 quart. And that 1 quart equals 2 pints. So if every pint has 2 cups in it, each of these 2 pints times the 2 cups will give us a total of 4 cups in 1 quart. So 2 cups per pint, 2 times 2 gives us 4 cups in a quart. So 4 times 6 would give us 24 cups, which tells us there are 24 cups in a quart. If we look now at a comparison problem using these units of measure, we see we have to compare 28 cups with 14 pints. So just like we did with the units of length, let's start with the larger unit and convert it to the smaller unit so we can multiply instead of divide, since multiplication is the operation of choice by most of you. So we have cups and pints. We have to know that pints are larger than cups. So that means we're going to convert the 14 pints into cups. From larger to smaller, we know we're multiplying. So we need to know how many cups are in a pint. And we can find that in our chart. There are 2 cups in a pint. 4 times 2 is 8. sorry, that's 2 times 14. We don't have 4 pints, we have 14 pints. So 2 times 14 is 28, which gives us 28 cups. So 14 pints equals 28 cups, so that means we're now actually comparing 28 cups and 28 cups, which would be equal. When we are converting units of weight, we're going to use the same sorts of rules, same rules we've been using. It's just, again, we're going to have different data to use in our table. Let's pull that up. Let's go one more page over, it looks like. There we go. Our units of weight. Rules stay the same. Larger to smaller multiply, smaller to larger divide. It's just we're using now this data, that there are 16 ounces in a pound and 2,000 pounds in a ton. That's the information we'll be using to do our conversions. So if we look down here, we're converting, in this first example, number 2, we're converting pounds to ounces. Pounds are larger than ounces, so larger to smaller tells us we're going to multiply. Now we know we're going to multiply something times 15. That other number comes from our table, and that we know that there are 16 ounces in a pound. So we can use our calculator and multiply it the quick way, or we can multiply it out in the long multiplication form if you don't have a calculator. Either way, when you multiply 15 pounds times 16 ounces in each one of those pounds, you would get 740. Oh, sorry. Working too quickly ahead. And this should be a 1 right there, not a 6. Didn't think something looked right. So that would be 240. Sorry, corrected myself. That would be 240 ounces. If we go over to number 4 and we're converting from ounces to pounds, we just said pounds was the larger unit. So this time we're converting a smaller unit into, a smaller unit into a larger unit. Smaller to larger, operation says to divide. So we're going to divide 320 by the number of ounces in a pound. Our chart tells us there are 16 ounces in a pound. So when we divide 16 into 320, or on a calculator, you divide 320 by 16, you're going to get 20 as your quotient. So there are in 20 pounds, there are 320 ounces. Converting, we would follow the same rules with units of weight. If we are doing some comparisons as well. So if we look at, let's see, we haven't worked with tons. Let's work with number 20. This one deals with tons. Well, we know tons are definitely larger than pounds. So let's take our larger unit of measure, the 16 tons, and convert that into pounds to see how many pounds that would equal. So we can see whether these two are greater than each other, less than each other, or equal to each other. So if we know we're multiplying from larger to smaller, we're going to multiply times 16 because that's our total number of tons. There are 2,000 pounds in a ton. So when we multiply 16 times 2,000, we get 32,000 pounds. So the 16 tons we just found out was equal to 32,000 pounds. So now we're comparing 32,000 pounds and 32,000 pounds, and those would be equal. Sorry for all the misspeakings and carelessness on this one.